Hey guys, Clumsy here, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This video is going to be a slightly different format. I actually did a flight yesterday, which I want to feature today because it highlights one particular aspect in Flight Sim 2020, in that a lot of the flight planning, a lot of the avionics, the systems are a bit messed up. But in that way, it actually serves as kind of a blessing in disguise, because it allows us to leverage and really learn and not rely too much on a single aspect in the plane. In particular, the GPS system, where normally the GPS should take you from place to place, from waypoint to waypoint, because that's still not polished enough. Oftentimes it gets things wrong, and that gives us a nice opportunity to work and use the alternative nav aids, and it proves to be such a more fulfilling experience in the end. So yeah, when FS2020 gives you lemons, this is what you can do. So let me highlight that trip for you before I jump into the actual flight with the footage and add commentary. So this is Navigraph Charts, this app. I have a Navigraph subscription, so I can display charts and everything. So this flight in particular takes us from Echo Bravo Charlie India, that's here in, I hope this is somewhere remotely correct, Charleroi in Belgium. And then we fly to the west towards Lille in France. That's Lima Foxtrot Quebec, the ICAO code. So it's only a 53 nautical mile journey, very short. But you can see different colors here, a pink one and a green one. The pink one is the departure, the standard instrument departure. So we are following a specific procedure out of the airport, and at the same time, we are following a specific procedure arriving at the airport. And both of those rely on a specific VOR, SHIV. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I hope it's remotely correct. But yeah, I'll feature in the video what goes wrong with the normal GPS routing, and I'll highlight how that is different from the supposed correct way of following these procedures. And then even the approach itself, which is very interesting. The flight planner, the system, was not able to replicate. So if you look at this approach, we should be going into the initial approach fix here, which is the VOR Lima Echo Quebec. And we should be turning right, 76 degree heading, 77, and then we turn right towards 122 degrees. We turn to the left, and then capture the localizer so that we are tracking a 257 degree heading, and that's all the way to the runway for our final approach. So it's a bit complex, there are a lot of turns, and you'll see later how messed up the GPS is, and how I had to rely on the VOR, different headings, the different DMEs and everything. So it's quite exciting. I like it so much so that I decided to feature it separately here. So let's go and jump in there now. Alright, here we are, departing via runway 24. The departure that we are going to follow, the standard instrument departure, the SID, is Civ 4 Yankee. Starts off fairly smoothly, everything looks fine, trying to maintain center line here. We have pilot to ATC to guide me with the air traffic communications, so I get a bit of guidance, so you'll hear them give instructions to me in a bit. But for now, keeping center line 90 knots, rotate little by little. Positive rate, tap the brakes, gear up. Looking good so far. We have some nice weather here, just minimal clouds. Everything looks good in terms of the flight planning. Flaps up, yaw damper on. I had a bit of trouble with the flight director. It seemed to disappear at some point, but it goes back eventually. So we go to nav mode and I hit autopilot. Charleroi looks beautiful. So yeah, from here everything looks fine. The GPS is working as expected still, it's pretty consistent. And we continued the climb to 10,000 feet, flight level 100. But the excitement comes a bit later into the flight.
TBM-1 Charlie Lima, good afternoon. Radar contact. TBM-1 Charlie Lima, expect the SIV-5 Alpha arrival with the SIV transition for the ILS approach to runway 26 with the LEQ transition at Leskine after CI-009 cleared direct shivers.
Okay, so I'm going to mute it here. Basically, the air traffic controller gave us some guidance on which approach, which arrival to take, and all of those are here. I'm plugging that in right now. The transition is correct, but when I press load, voila, look at the magenta line up above. Suddenly, it removed everything in the original flight plan, and now it's all a mess. And I try to follow that.
TBM-1 Charlie Lima, you are off course. Turn left heading 228 to return to course.
Heading 228 TBM-1 Charlie Lima.
So thankfully, ATC spotted that problem, that I am not flying anymore according to the original flight plan, and asked me to deviate and correct my heading. So at this point I realized, yeah, the GPS is not going to do me any favors, and now it's time to do some proper VOR guidance. So I switched the nav mode to nav 1 and followed what the chart says. Here it is in more detail what I did. So here's the departure chart. Here is the magenta line where the GPS is routing us, and here is where the plane is currently at. Where we should be is in the green line here. And I make the plane follow this green line by first setting the nav 1 frequency to 113.2 so that it tracks Shiv, and then I set the course knob to 301 degrees, and that tells the plane to follow, go to Shiv at a 301 degree track.
TBM-1 Charlie Lima, resume navigation.
Once all of that's set, and when ATC gave me guidance that I can resume navigation, then I just press the nav key, and then the autopilot, instead of following the GPS route that is wrong, is now following the VOR that I set, the frequency, and the course that I specified. Now, isn't that a much more exciting way of flying? Okay, so here's the next exciting part, and I have to do some kind of active pause here to show you. If you look at the left, that's how the chart should look like. That's the procedure we should be following. And if you look at the right, you see how the flight plan, the FMS, tries to interpret that in a very wrong way. So we're back to plugging in conventional nav aids again, using the VOR, this time on nav 2. Plug in 109.0, transfer, and now you should see on nav 2, we have captured Lima Echo Quebec VOR. And we see the DME there, how far away we are from it. From here, it's a matter of changing the active nav from FMS to VOR2 and adjusting the course. Now this is a watch out. See, I made a mistake here. I keep changing course 1. When I'm on VOR2, I should be changing course 2, and that's why the course isn't moving. I had to revert to heading mode here and do some manual workarounds, but that part is pilot error. That's not really... Yeah, see, I keep fumbling here. After some time, I realize my mistake, and then I start really turning course 2 this time, and now I see the course adjusting. I set the course to, what was it? I said 311, which is what's indicated in the charts, and now I can hit nav mode and follow the proper path towards the airport. And you can see we're deviating from the FMS flight plan here, but this is exactly how it should be in the charts. And here goes the most exciting part of the trip, the approach. Now, the way this approach works, the initial approach fix, that is the start of the approach, is literally flying over the airport itself at 2,000 feet. And you can see the flight plan doesn't have anything in there. The GPS doesn't have any proper guidance, so we are left to our own devices. So let me open the chart here and show you what I'm doing. So the approach starts at exactly Lima Echo Quebec VOR, and we are turning right here, heading 76 degrees as the chart indicates. And the important parts here are that we track the VOR, Lima Echo Quebec, and also the ILS, which is has an identifier of Lima, what is that? India Lima, Lil, with the 110.75 frequency. Right? So right now we are heading 77 degrees, and we are looking very closely on the DME. You can see NAV1 and NAV2 in there with their respective DMEs. So depending on where we are currently, that's when we'll know if it's time to turn, if it's time to still go straight. And for us, the important part in this approach specifically is 5.9 DME of Lille or 6.9 DME of Lima Echo Quebec, because that's the point where we know that we have to turn right. Turning right, heading 122 degrees. I'll jump to that part. Okay, so here we are. Thank goodness I opened the chart during that footage so we can see the real-time location of the plane. I'm making my turn right towards 122 degrees heading, because if you look at the DME on NAV2, that should be almost exactly where the DME specification was. I believe that's 6.9 Lima Echo Quebec. So from here, heading 122 degrees, we go straight until we reach 10 DME. You see that line? There we go, that 10 DME mark. That's how I interpret it, at least. That's the point when we reach 10 DME away from Lima Echo Quebec. We turn left, heading 302 degrees. And we are reaching that point soon. So there we go. I'm just using heading select here. Turning left towards 302. And from there, we should be able to intercept the localizer.
Charlie Lima QNH is 1022 at Lesquin, contact tower on 118.55. Have a nice day.
There we go. We're being asked to go to tower now.
QNH is 1022 tower on 118.55 TBM1 Charlie Lima.
So at this point, I'm still currently at heading select, heading 302 degrees. But we also have, if you look at nav mode, we have nav mode at localizer 1 already. So the green line in the primary flight display, you can already see that that's the localizer. And so when we get close enough, I can just hit nav mode.
TBM1 Charlie Lima inbound for ILS approach to runway 26.
And it should capture the ILS localizer.
TBM1 Charlie Lima, good afternoon. Radar contact. Continue ILS to runway 26, call when established on final.
There it is, just press nav mode.
Continue ILS to runway 26 will call when established on final TBM1 Charlie Lima.
And now the plane is not following 302 degrees, it's following the localizer specifically. And we are now exactly bang on the ILS right there. That is so much more fun than just letting the GPS have all the enjoyment. Instead of the GPS doing all the work, we actually have to adjust the heading, do all sorts of chart referencing, and that is actually pretty exciting to me. I don't know about you guys, but this is one of the most fun flights I've had in a while. And who knew, having no GPS actually made it more enjoyable. So from here, it's going to be a standard approach, just waiting for the glide slope to hit one dot away from the center so we can deploy our landing gears. But I'm going to keep this footage in because I know a lot of people like watching the landings. Don't expect too much, but we'll get there in one piece. Spoiler alert. There we go, landing gears are deploying. I've also enabled approach mode so we can capture the glide slope. Waiting for those 3 green lights from the landing gear indication. There we go. Landing gears are deployed. We have captured the glide slope.
TBM1 Charlie Lima established on final for ILS runway 26.
Reporting established to ATC.
TBM1 Charlie Lima winds are 260 at 9 knots, cleared to land runway 26.
Getting
Cleared to
landing
land runway
clearance.
26 TBM1 Charlie Lima.
So I'm trying something different here. Below 178 knots, you can deploy your flaps already, first notch of flaps for this plane. And the same goes for landing gear. Below 178 knots, you can extend your landing gear. And normally the approach speed, so this speed that we are doing as we are on our final approach, ideally should be 85 knots only. But I'm trying to postpone that at the last minute possible. So just to speed things up. So I'm trying to slow down now, bit by bit. And by the time we reach maybe around 3 miles away from the runway, that's the only time when I'll deploy full flaps. So right now I'm trying to decelerate, hit that white bar in the speed tape, that's 122 knots and below, so I can deploy full flaps. There we go, extending flaps to full. And from here, it's a matter of pitching for that 85 knot airspeed. Looking good so far. We are fluctuating here, so I have to balance it a bit with the pitch and the throttle to ensure 85 knots in here. But so far so good. And at this point, can remove the autopilot and yaw damper. So landing checklist is Giphy for this plane, gear, inertial separator, flaps are full, yaw damper is off. Everything looks good. So we will continue to land. Thankfully it's a beautiful day for a flight. Beautiful weather, just enough clouds to keep it lively, but not to cause any hassle in the flight. Visibility is perfect. Couldn't ask for a better day. Here we are. Almost there, a bit below the glide slope, but at this point, this low doesn't really matter that much anymore. At this point, I'm looking outside and visually aiming for those numbers. Going to idle throttle, flaring a bit. There we go.
TBM1 Charlie Lima exit runway when able.
All tires are on the runway. Not too shabby, I'll take it.
Enter 74 November X-ray, are you ready for rolling the backside?
So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Much shorter video than usual, but took me a much longer time to do because of all the editing. But I really like this flight and I wanted to share it with you. Hope you guys enjoy these kinds of videos. I probably wouldn't be able to do this that often because it requires so much time, but for sure we'll do more full flights so I can show exactly how these things are done. And if you have tips for me, I'm sure I missed a couple of steps there, let me know in the comments. I'll be looking forward to those adjustments. After all, we are, all of us, constantly learning. Anyway, have a nice day everybody. Thank you for watching. Clumsy flying, and catch you in the next video. Bye bye.
Number 656, Fox to the member, 3 mile final, 11.